It's a Thursday on Squawk Asia. Welcome back. We're back with Yu-Dee Chang, principal, also chief trader at Ace Investment Strategist. Yu-Dee, let's break it down and talk about sectors, if we could. Financials right now, at least according to the IMF and John Lipsky, the interim, I guess, head, very little sort of exposure to what's going on over in Greece on the part of U.S. banks. If the situation, though, worsens, contagion, if it spreads to core Europe, say Italy, Spain, etc., U.S. money market funds, which fund a lot of core European banks, how at risk are they, do you think? Are you worried?
Actually, I'm not worried. If you look at the real data, the direct impact out of the so-called Greek debt, European Union owns about 60% of it. Greek themselves owns the other 29%. So between them, they own about 89%. U.S. banks' exposure is not a very large there. However, you're correct. I think a so-called systemic risk is definitely there. So psychological effect could affect the U.S. banks. But majorly speaking, I'm not very concerned with the so-called Greek debt crisis on the direct impact of U.S. banks.
All right. You like financials as a group, though, Yu-Dee, is that right? Even with all the regulation layered on, and we've been talking about this. We talked about this earlier this week. The new capital cushion, big, fatter, thicker for the biggest ones, the too big to fail banks, to try and, I guess, make them healthy and help them survive.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question, and it's a very interesting question at that. To me, I like the so-called financial sector, or the banking sector, as a trading vehicle. Think about it. They've been pretty volatile, they swing a lot, and they have a good storyline on it. However, on the other side, as a long-term investment, I get a little worried there. Like you said, there actually financial regulation-wise, there has become a lot stricter. No proprietary trading. They have to have high reserve requirements. They can't do a lot of riskier stuff. Well, no risk, no reward. So the question on the street is, how are they going to make real money going forward? So I think that's the problem with treating financials as a long-term investment. As a trading vehicle, I think they're fantastic. Every time they roll through some type of downside on a bounce, you could get that 18% return on it. So I think trading vehicle, I like. Long-term investment-wise, I will still hold off.
Okay, so trade the ranges on financials, but what about the oil majors? Because you've also pinpointed this sector as something you're interested in investing in. We had that IEA move to increase supply to the market. Many saw that as short-term bearish, but even now there are reports that by the end of the year we might see supply crunched again.
Absolutely. I like the oil majors a lot. If you think about the price of oil came off the top for about 22%. It started with the slowdown of China, of the emerging markets, and then follow up by, like you said, IEA releasing the 60 million barrels of reserve. But I think from there, China's slowing down, no doubt about it. Brazil's slowing down, no doubt about that. But yet, they're still growing. So I think the demand for the energy market is still there. So with that said, if you look at it, the oil majors such as ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, they're growing their earnings. And also their dividend growth is pretty high. They are actually valuations relatively low. On ExxonMobil, it's only around 12. So I think at this stage, after the correction in the oil market had already happened, I actually start to like the oil majors.
Let's talk tech with you too quickly, because you've got technology as something you're chasing. We had Microsoft coming out with Office 365 this week. Could that be a turning point for Microsoft after a lost decade for its shares, or are there other exposures you prefer?
Yeah, possible. I think this so-called cloud computing with Microsoft, that was one use really triggered the rally in Microsoft. The other, of course, is U.S. Supreme Court with a ruling saying that no problem, we could start selling these violent video games to the U.S. minors. So that actually spurred of course, Microsoft owns Xbox, so that also gave Microsoft a boost. I think if you look at technology, that's another sector kind of interesting. Cash rich, the sector that may benefit from economic recovery. If economy does not recover, that is, well, then we still have to improve our technology to replace all the people we've just laid off. So technology is definitely another sector I like.
Yeah, good way to increase productivity. Thanks so much, Yu-Dee Chang, with us. Much appreciated. Up next is QE2.